Welcome to the Good Friday edition of Anglican Unscripted. This is episode 171, and you're watching two guys with nothing better to do on a Friday afternoon than to bring you the news. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conker, and today's April 3rd, 2015.
Welcome to the Good Friday edition of Anglican Unscripted. Before we get started, George and I want to offer our condolences to the province of Kenya. There's been another attack. I think this is the third big attack in 3 years. A school in Garrison was attacked by a Muslim extremist, and 150 students were executed yesterday. And we offer our condolences. The Muslim extremism in Kenya and in Nigeria have really been taking to the news recently, George.
Yes, this is the same group, they're called Al-Shabaab, who perpetrated the Westgate Mall massacre in 2013. Mm-hmm. Last year, they stopped a bus traveling down to Nairobi and took everyone out and put the Christians on one side, the Muslims on the other, and executed all the Christians. We had the same thing happened at the Garissa Technical Institute, just north, a few hundred kilometers north of Nairobi, where they went through the dorms, and the Christian students they pulled out and shot to death, and the Muslims they let go. It's the same. It's the same people doing the same things. It's just getting worse and worse.
We want to pray for the hostages and the families and the leaders in Nairobi right now. Other good news: there was a successful election in Uganda, George. This is remarkable because people are afraid that there's going to be violence, and the democracy had not taken hold yet in Africa. Not so, George.
Yes, in Nigeria, mm-hmm. The incumbent president.
Did I say Uganda?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, Nigeria. Yes.
Goodluck Jonathan, the president, ran against Muhammadu Buhari, I believe his name was, mm-hmm. a Christian versus a Muslim, a northerner versus a southerner. And there was a great deal of fear that this would break the country apart along sectarian lines. Well, both candidates received support from both constituencies. Sure. This was not a Muslim versus Christian election. Mm-hmm. And the Archbishop of Canterbury on Wednesday of this week telephoned President Goodluck Jonathan because for the first time since independence from Great Britain in 1962, I think it was, there's been a peaceful transition of democratic power in Nigeria where the loser in an election is accepting the electoral mm-hmm. results. And there may have been funny business here and there, but it was a margin of 2 million votes. And Goodluck Jonathan has advanced the cause of democracy in Nigeria immeasurably by honoring the will of the people. And everybody's excited about that. And the new president has pledged his first thing he's going to do is stamp out Boko Haram. Mm. So good things, I hope, are on the horizon for Nigeria.
On to today's show. George and I are going to talk about the ACC, which is the Anglican Community Council, which sadly Anglican TV has been kind of a thorn in the side of for many years. They've tried to stop our progress, stop our reporting, especially in Jamaica. How did we get such a bad rap with the ACC, George?
Well, Kevin, the Anglican TV shone the light on the inner workings of the ACC. Mm-hmm. Beforehand, you just had people like George Conger writing stories about how corrupt and how awful this organization was, where people whose language is not English are manipulated by other people. In other words, you've got an African from the Congo whose English may be his fifth language. His rings are being run around him on Robert's Rules of Orders. So his views and opinions don't count. It's sort of the bureaucrats and the white provinces running the show. Mm-hmm. Well, in Jamaica, if you wanted to, you could watch went on. Mm-hmm. You could watch Rowan Williams torpedo the Anglican Covenant. His own baby, he strangled. You could watch You could watch Catherine Jefferts Schori and other people just manipulate the system, say some things that, she got up and said in Jamaica that she was not pursuing a legal campaign against conservatives. She was responding to attacks against the integrity of the Episcopal Church. Yeah, right. Pull the other one. And for the first time, you could watch this and see this, and no editorials, no slanting. You just saw it for yourself. And people who had always sort of held back from saying, well, I sort of believe what you say, but I don't want to believe it, they no longer have that excuse.
Yeah, it's one of the amazing things about film is it's transparent. There's no editing. We get to watch it live stream. I don't know how we were able to live stream from the Jamaican hotel, but it worked out just fine. And instantly, the internet knew that how corrupt the ACC was and how bad a leader it had in Kenneth Kiernan. Since that day, I have sadly been his enemy.
You were invited by Chad Hatfield, who's the dean of St. Vladimir's Seminary, Orthodox Seminary in Nyack or Ossining, up north of New York
In
City.
New York City, yep.
To film a presentation given by Justin Welby on Anglican Orthodox relations.
Well, Rowan Williams. It was Rowan Williams, but
I'm sorry, you're right. To film a speech by Rowan Williams. And the ACC, Ken Kieran, told Hatfield that if ATV's there, Rowan Williams not going to be there. And
they were not happy with me at Lambeth either, but that's just the way it worked out. So we're bringing up the ACC, which is one of the four instruments of communion. In case you forgot, we have Lambeth as one of them, the primates meeting is the other, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and the fourth is the ACC. It's just how it works.
Kevin, need to have before that the qualifier so-called instruments of communion. It's unofficial. It's unofficial.
Well, it was made up by VTS, wasn't it?
Well, a conference was held at Virginia Theological Seminary in '97 that put forward the Virginia Agreement. Folks, do you really want to know all this stuff?
Yeah,
I can tell you.
Okay, let's move on to the ACC then.
It's a professor's good idea that was never really adopted by anybody.
So the ACC now has a new leader who is a kind of a demoted archbishop from Nigeria. He's now a bishop who was at the consecration or one of the consecrators of the Bishop of Durham, who is now the Archbishop of Canterbury. George had some time this week to look him up and get all the details so we could talk about him.
I didn't need to look him up. I knew this stuff already, Kevin.
I'm giving people credit that we do research, George.
Okay, well, I did some research, but I met him in '97.
Yeah.
I met him in '98 when I was in Nigeria. Josiah Adaiwu Faron. He's Bishop of Kaduna, which is in northwestern Nigeria. He's 64 years old. He's been a bishop since 1990 when he was first made Bishop of Sokoto, also in northern Nigeria. He's very well educated. He was educated at the University of Durham in England, and he has a PhD from Nigerian University in sociology. He's an expert on Christian-Muslim relations. He has very extensive contacts in what I would call the sort of second-tier Anglican academic community. Justin Welby and he are personal friends, and the Living Church magazine, for instance, put out an editorial on Facebook saying, this guy is better than sliced bread. It's wonderful. Hallelujah. The eschaton is here. One of our own, someone who's written op-ed pieces for the Living Church, is now the ACC Secretary General. Well, as a human being, Josiah Adaiwu Faron is a great guy. I have no doubts about that. He's a believing Christian, husband of one wife, two great kids, all power to him.
Well, what's unique about
the Episcopal left hates his guts.
And that's what's unique about him is because there's two sides of Josiah. First is what the Episcopal Cafe, if you go to the website, they have completely freaked out because this guy has a history where he's been against homosexuality. He's been in support of his country's criminalization of homosexuality. He's taken several opinions that would make the average Episcopalian or liberal Episcopalian absolutely freak out, and you see that in the response by the Episcopal Cafe. However, if you ask the average Nigerian, George, you would get or leader in the Nigerian church, you get a different response.
Yes, they would not be as vociferous in their criticism as Episcopal Cafe, but they would sort of give a qualified tepid, oh, hooray, oh, my goodness.
Well, if
I'm glad you're going to England and leaving Nigeria.
He was demoted, but he was also booed once by the House of Bishops.
Yes. Now, why is this? He has been a voice for. He has not been loyal to the Church of Nigeria.
But
Loyal.
he has been a company man.
He is a company man. The
Mm-hmm.
company he's chosen, though, is not the Church of Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Anglican Communion and the Anglican Consultative Council.
Mm-hmm.
He is Justin Welby's man. He has always been the Archbishop of Canterbury's man over the Church of Nigeria. He vocally opposed the boycott of Lambeth in '98. He's been an opponent of GAFCON. He urged the Archbishop of Nigeria publicly to go to the Dublin Primates meeting after the Archbishop of Nigeria said, I'm not going because it's a charade.
Mm-hmm.
Josiah Wadiwa Farone wrote an op-ed from the Church Times saying how terrible this is, and this doesn't represent the views of all Anglicans in Nigeria. So the guy's been disloyal. And at a certain point, time came for him to be reelected as the Archbishop of the ecclesiastical province in northern Nigeria. He wasn't reelected. In fact, he was booed in the House of Bishops because his loyalty was not to that institution, but higher up the chain.
So he's not he's not far right. He's not far left. He's, I would say center middle right. But what does that mean for the average GAFCON supporter or ACNA guy? And I think for those who want a weakened ACC or no ACC, this is good news, George, because he doesn't have the skills to run this type of organization the way it's been run in the past, which has been a political arm for which it was not intended to be. It was meant to be more of a conciliatory, let's get together and talk of the provinces. It became the political arm where we will have an Anglican covenant. We will force these things upon different places. We'll make sure the money goes to only those who support the liberal causes. It's not that anymore. It's worse. It's just fallen apart, and that's why Kenneth Kiernan moved on. Can Josiah fix it, or is he just going to make it unfundable, George?
I don't think he was chosen to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we say fix it, what sort of things were broken? Well, Kevin, one of the things... now, I'm giving you all the credit for being disliked, but I've done my share of
Yes,
being
you
unpopular with Kenneth Kiernan. For instance, in Jamaica, the ACC Central Committee refused to seat Phil Ashey as a delegate from the Church of Uganda. And Catherine Jeffrey Chori got up and said, oh, no, this is terrible. He's really an American priest pretending to be a Ugandan. Now, what exactly she meant by that, I'm not sure, but he didn't have a wig and makeup on. And so the ACC Central Committee said, well, we're not going to allow him to be seated in Nigeria. You can't allow him to be one of your priests. And I, having been to the ACC meeting in Dundee, Scotland in 1999, I said to Canon Kieran, I remember at that meeting, Canon Kieran, that the American Bishop of Representative Mark Dyer was not validly a bishop of the Episcopal Church in that he had retired. And the rules quite clearly say that only serving bishops, not retired bishops, may be ACC delegates. And John L. Peterson, the Secretary General, said, well, that may be true, but we allow the members to choose their own delegates. Mm-hmm. And then I said to Kenneth Kieran, okay, what's changed? In '99, the members can choose their own delegates. Now in 2000 and what was that, 9?
Yep.
10? The rules have changed so that the Central Committee can choose the delegates. And Kenneth Kieran's answer was, that was then, this is now, which I think is a model of theological integrity and coherence. Well, what I'm trying to say, folks, is that the ACC was the only international body where the American Church and the Canadians had any muscle. Mm-hmm. And their muscle was due to the fact that they paid for this operation to go. Episcopal Cafe and the American left are livid that someone who is not purer than they are, as pure as they are on the homosexuality issue, has been appointed. And therefore, the money's going to be cut off in the United States. Mm-hmm. And the ACC is not going to be able to function without any money. So this is a win-win-win situation for everybody concerned. Justin Welby has a loyalist in place. He no longer needs to worry that there are two eight foreign offices in the Anglican world, the ACC and his. Mm-hmm. Josiah Wadiwa Ferron will follow his lead and will do what he says. So Justin Welby's happy. The GAFCON people should be happy because now the ACC is going to be even more irrelevant, and it'll be broke at the same time. So their push to reform the organization is helped immeasurably by the appointment of someone who he can't raise money. He's not going to be able to move any African 1 inch off of their current position. He's alienated the Episcopal Church. That's a good situation
It
if
is,
you want the entity to die.
Catherine Jefferts Schori has really highly funded the ACC over her tenure as presiding bishop. She gave them 3 years of funding. In 2 years, she had other organizations write them checks. The standing committee of the ACC was just horrid in their control. So to see this end now is going to be pretty incredible, George.
Well, the Anglican entities are like U.S. government agencies. They don't actually ever die. They just keep on going. And they turn out their reports, but the ACC for a long time has had no credibility as an international body. Mm-hmm. What it says doesn't matter. But so long as it had money, it mattered because people who didn't know any better, let's say you're a dumb reporter who knows nothing about Anglicanism, you decide, well, is the Diocese of South Carolina really Anglican? Well, let's look on the Anglican Consultative Council's website. Gosh, golly gee, they say the Episcopal Church in South Carolina are the true Anglicans. So they'll write their newspaper article not knowing that the ACC has no authority to make the claims that they do. That we all who sort of follow these things know that it is a corrupt and venal organization that doesn't matter.
We picked on them now for 15 minutes, George. I think we can let them alone. But it's good news for certainly ACNA and for GAFCON. And it's good news for George and I, except we'll have something less corrupt to report on. But hopefully others will make up the news for us, George. I'm Kevin.
He is a man of integrity.
Yes. Disagreement.
We need to distinguish between the man and the institution to which he's been appointed.
Yeah.
The institution is shady.
I agree.
The man is not.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So this is our report for Good Friday. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger. And you've been watching episode 171 of Anglican Unscripted.